Good morning, everyone. It's Patrick at Qdabra. We're happy to have you here for our webinar. We're talking about our latest Forms Designer releases, and we have a special demo on our new process gen solution prototype that will help you create forms faster, actually business processes, so it's much more than just forms. We've had this acceleration in the last 2 months with Claude Code. We've been using Claude Code to improve our development process. And as a result, we've made much more progress towards Forms Designer's end zone. We're feature parity with InfoPath, very close. And we actually have way more features than InfoPath Designer anyway. But we're really trying to target what our customers asked us to target at the end of December of last year. We had training and we had some good feedback, and we listened to the customers. We listened to you, and we actually implemented all of these features. We're very close, and we're going to demo that first, and then we're going to switch to this new idea, right? It's a prototype, so we're going to show you how we've imagined building new processes. One thing that's unique about XSN and the other tools that we've built on top of InfoPath's format for the file, DBXL, Q rules, and central flows, is that we can actually package that all into one file format to make the AI much more effective when it helps to build these new business processes. Like you want to use AI to build a business process. You've been using AI to ask questions about things. In fact, let's just do a quick poll here. We have just 2 questions for you at the beginning. The first question is, obviously, have you used Forms Designer yet? We're trying to drive adoption. We've got a lot of customers using it, but just want to ask you if you're using it. So yes, no, quick thing here. Thanks for joining, everyone. And it looks like we've got about half and half. That's great, actually. So we're going to shut down this poll. We've got one more question for you. And that is, which AI model have you been using? And so we use all 3 at the top here. We haven't used Llama. We haven't used Facebook's model. We haven't used DeepSeek. We thought about using the Manu, M-A-N-U, AI model from China, but we didn't do that. We couldn't get access at the beginning. And so we've been focused on the top 3 items here. So what are you using? So it looks like 60% of you are using OpenAI. And then nobody's using Anthropic. That's interesting. Anthropic's is Claude Code. That's one of our major accelerations the last 2 months with the development cycle. And then I think 20% of you are using Gemini. Okay, great. Thanks for that. So today we're going to show you, we have 4 developers, 4 geeky developers who are going to show you their demos of the latest stuff they've done in Forms Designer. Hillary's going to go first, Samyong, Sweta, Jimmy, and then we're going to switch to Peter, and we're going to talk about this new idea. I wouldn't even call it a prototype, Peter, but I mean, it is a prototype. You've done an amazing job, but let's just indulge you with this idea. So that's the next thing. So let's switch quickly to our first demo E. Demo E, is that the right word, Hillary?
Demonstrator. Hi everybody. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Maybe. Oh, I guess you'll have to do something.
I can help you. Sorry.
You're going to have to help me. I need help with that. Okay. There, I got an assist, guys. Anyway, I was saying I'm seeing familiar names, which is always really nice for me. So thank you, everybody, for attending today. I know sometimes it's hard to grab time out of your busy day. We just had a chat about this feature right before we started this meeting. So what you're seeing here isn't quite the final version. We're going to move the Delete View button down here into the View tab. So you know, don't consider this set in stone. Probably don't consider any of what we're going to show you today set in stone, because, you know, features are still in development. But one thing we were missing that I had time to add recently was the capacity to delete views. It's slightly different from InfoPath. In InfoPath, when I was testing, I noticed that when you delete a view, it seems to almost pick one at random. It actually picks the most recently added view to switch you to after delete. What we're doing instead is, if you delete a non-default view, we switch you back to the default. If you delete the default view, InfoPath just picks your most recent view and makes that your new default, but we instead give you a choice. So you get to go ahead and select a new default view. So you click delete and you select your new default. Sorry about my kind of boring view names. So here's view B. I'm going to set that as my default. And now this one is my default view. My test form has some buttons in it that do some actions, because InfoPath cleans out some stuff when we delete views. And then if I delete a regular view, it just goes ahead and switches me back over to view B, which is my one remaining view. And then at this point, the delete button's disabled, because I'm not allowed to delete my last view. As I said, this is a little bit of a work in progress and will be changing, but I know sometimes we would like to be able to remove unused views. So this is going to give you the opportunity to do that. I'll go ahead and stop sharing and we can move on.
Beautiful. Thanks, Hillary. Any questions for Hillary? We're going to quickly switch back to the slides, and I am going to share the next slide and then switch to Samyong. So Samyong is next up. Samyong, are you ready to demo? I'm going to make you the presenter here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, please go ahead. Okay, so my screen. Yeah, my screen is visible now. Okay, the first thing that I'm showing today is demoing today is this update or enhancement of the UI that we have made to this ad control section. Previously, we had a speech bubble kind of layout, and that has been enhanced to this dropping down or or expanding kind of layout for ad control section. And the next thing is we have added background control for some of these controls, for most of this control, I would say. And if I choose, if I add button, and if I choose to select, I can select any color here, as you can see. And I'll also add another control, text box. And I also try to add new color here. So we can add background color for most of the controls. For few controls, background color is missing. This feature is missing, but we have tried to add this feature to the controls that make sense. And the next thing that I'm demoing is that we can now move our data field to different parents. I'll move this text field. We can move the text field by clicking this button. It will show some kind of warning message. And now I can select different parents. If I choose the same parent, it should show some error message, like you cannot move node to its current parents, and select a different node, different group. And this has been now moved here.
And the reason for the warning message beginning, just sorry to interrupt, but the reason for the warning message is because once you change your schema, there's some, obviously there's some impact to your existing forms that you've saved, because the schema is now different. So we should probably mention what that difference is. So moving fields, deleting fields. Actually, deleting fields isn't that bad, but moving fields or changing the schema in a dramatic way can have an effect on existing data. And we should briefly talk about this. Hillary, Jimmy, do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, sure. So your saved forms, let's say you've got data in group 1/field 1, and you moved field 1 to group 2. When you go and open up your saved form, what happens to the data that was in field 1 when it was back in group 1? Jimmy, I think the upgrade XSL is going to remove that field, or will it actually move it?
Yeah, it'll strip out the old one and add the new one.
And add the new one. That's what I was thinking. So it could lead to data loss. And that's something we also used to see in InfoPath Designer too. When we're moving things around, it would give us a warning. And that's because you could lose data. And so it's always good to just use caution when you're moving things around.
Yeah, Simon, can you show us that error message again? That not an error message, a warning. Moving fields and groups can affect form logic and rules that reference them. Do you wish to proceed? Okay, so we just described what that risk is. Okay, thanks. You can just click no. And then you're going to show renaming, right?
Yeah, and the next feature that I'm showing today is now we can rename this data fields. So I'll just rename the move field that we just moved. I'll first try with some special characters and see if it has it catches some validations. Okay, it does. So I'll put in some valid name.
And renaming fields has the same basic effect, right, Hillary?
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing in the upgrade XSL for a rename that I'm counting on Jimmy to correct me if I'm misremembering. But I'm pretty sure that if you rename something, your data, you're going to lose your data again, the data that you had in that field previously.
Yeah, right.
Also, if there's anything in the form that relies on the fields, like if the controls are bound to it or rules are referencing it, it's going to mess those up too. So we generally don't recommend moving things unless it's something you just added. You're thinking, oh, I wanted to put it there. You can move it, but generally you want to keep things where they are once they've been used.
Thank you very much. Sonia, you're up next. You ready?
Yeah,
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. That's great.
Hello, everyone. Patrick, I think I need access. Yeah. So today I will demo two new FormsDesigner features. The first is rebinding text boxes, and the other feature is adding custom XDP. For rebinding text box, I'm going to rebind this user text control. We have this button on the right, and if I click this, we get this pin selector. Sure? I think I am.
I can see her screen.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we see this data field selector pop up, and I'm going to switch the binding from user to email address and click OK. Now let's save this form. And let's open in Forms Viewer. So I'm going to type my email here, swetapodal@qdabra.com. And we have the same value to a user field. Both of these controls are bound to the same field. And the next feature is adding custom XDP. Actually, we had planned to demo the XDP feature in our last webinar, but we encountered some technical issues and we could not show it back then. While we did include the feature in our last YouTube video, but we want to demo it again. So for today's demo, I'm going to use an XDP called Qauth that will add authentication to our survey form. So for that, let me add a new view and let me name this as login. And in the login view, I'm going to upload custom control. So we have a new option here. If I click this, we have an area to upload the XTP. I'm going to use Qauth XTP, and let's add this. Now I'm going to follow some instructions mentioned over here. So let's first add Q rules to our form, and the next instruction says we need to update finish loading to load the resource files. So let's go to Qdabra rules data source. We have finish loading, and let's add a rule, load Qauth files, and let's set the fill value from Qauth actions load files, and we need to set the value as go.
So what you're showing,
Next.
what it is, you're showing how to add a new XML template part to the form that's not part of the 5 or 6 we got already, but it's like a completely new XTP, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had 5 XTP options here, and now we can add our custom XTP in FormsDesigner.
Great, thanks.
So the next instruction is we need to change the Q rule bindings. So let's go to Qauth. We have this temp command and temp result. We need to set this to Qdabra result. First, let's set to Qdabra command, and we need to change this temp result to Qdabra result. Okay, now we need to add form logic to load the Q authentication as our default view. So let's say display Qauth, and we need to add a condition. So we will display this authentication when the is verified login is false. So we have this condition here.
Why not say equals false?
And I'm going to switch view to login. And our last step would be after user has successfully logged in, we need to show the form. So let's set a new rule here, display form. So the condition would be if is verified is true. And
so
we need to
previously,
switch.
sorry to interrupt, but previously you had is not equal to true. Why not just say equals false?
Yeah, we can do that.
Blank? What if it's blank? Does it default to blank?
Yeah, that's a practice that I follow. Basically, all your logic is based on whether it's true or not. So sometimes it can be blank, sometimes it can be something else, but you know if it's true or not.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry. Keep going.
So when the authentication is true, we will switch the view to the default view, and let's save this. Okay, I'm going to reload the page. Okay, so we have this Qauth UI. Now let me enter the email at qdabra.com, and first I'm going to enter some random OTP here. Okay, it says authentication failed. Now let me try from my authenticator app. It is 702336. Okay, so now we can access the form, and in this way we can add our custom XTP using FormsDesigner. Thank you.
Awesome. Excellent job. Okay, I know we can share my screen here to show the next slide, and then switch to you, Jimmy. You're our final presenter today. So great job. So Jimmy, you're up next. You've got enhancement on an old feature that was never really done well in InfoPath Designer. So you ready?
Yep. Yeah, so the feature that I've been working on for the last few weeks is the condition builder. And this is something that's been on my mind for a very long time. It's something we need to add to FormsDesigner because it's hard to build a condition well without it. But it's a daunting task because there's a ton involved in it. But it's finally here, and we've taken it even further. So first, let's kind of look at what InfoPath has, so we can point out some of the things we sought to improve upon. So this is just should be familiar to most of the people here. And the main thing that we took issue with is these ands and ors. There's sort of an asymmetry here. Also, it's not really clear, unless you're really well versed in XPath, it's not clear how this is going to actually be evaluated. So in XPath, and has what we call higher associativity than OR. So it means that these two here are going to be combined together first, and then these two, and then finally at the end, those two results will be combined with an OR to get the final result. But you can't really tell that that's how it's going to play out here. You would think it would go through one by one until you get to the end, but that's not how it works. So we sought to both make that more explicit and also sort of allow more complex combinations of ands and ors. So let's have a look over here. Okay, so I've got the same form here. I've got my button, and I click here to open this up. And what we can see here is that now we've got this hierarchical grouping. So that you can see that the ands are tied closely together with each other, and then the or is sort of overarching the whole expression. So you can really see the relationship of these conditions. And not only that, is that you can build conditions that InfoPath's condition builder didn't allow for. So right now I have something where if it's presentation 1, then answer 1. If it's blank, we disable the button. So answer 1 has to be answered. For presentation 2, answer 2 has to be answered. But let's say we wanted something like if it's presentation 1, we have to require all 3 answers. So we can do that here. First, we add this, and then we're going to click this button, which is going to split it out into a subgroup. And we're going to have 3 in this subgroup.
Why is it suggesting a presentation survey first?
Because of the where the button is located within the binding context. You can see here, basically the rule is if it's a group and it doesn't have any children that are fields, then it'll default to that group itself as the default selection.
I see.
Okay, so what we want is if it's presentation 1, then we want to require all 3 questions. So basically, if answer 1 is blank, or answer 2 is blank, or answer 3 is blank. Oops. Then disable the button. And so this is a condition that you cannot build with the UI in InfoPath because it won't allow you to have the OR grouping at a closer level than the ands. A couple of more improvements here, and you can even take this as deep as you want. You just keep
Wait, hold on a second. So you're saying that designer couldn't do this?
No, if you wanted this, you would have to enter it manually as an XPath. Wow. You wouldn't be able to build it using this list of conditions. It's not possible.
All right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Hillary, I'm sure you get what he's saying.
Yeah, I do. And another thing I just want to highlight here is I am sure every single form designer here has run into that 5 condition limit and then either had to start like handcrafting XPath expressions to get past it or add another set of conditions. We do not have that 5 condition limit anymore. So yeah, this is a huge improvement. And Jimmy made the comment that for some people not being as familiar with XPath and the or precedents. I mean, I've been working with InfoPath and XPath and stuff for 17 years, and I still struggle with ands and ors sometimes. So having it visualized for me and down at the bottom written out in plain language, it's hugely helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Hillary. Also, a couple more improvements. We've got this delete button. We don't prompt you to delete every single one because that would be annoying. But we have undo and redo. So if you delete something by accident, you just click the undo button. You can also use Control-Z, Control-Y to undo or redo. So if you sort of make a blunder there, you can undo it. Also, another thing that InfoPath didn't have, if you switch to an expression, you would have to type this in manually. InfoPath has that nice XPath editor in various places, but not here. But if you switch to this, we just show you the XPath editor, and you can get all the nice functionality that
When
that
did you
has.
add that? I haven't seen that before.
I've had it for it's about a week now. Yep. So we've got that. So I can just add anything I want here.
And I used to make up formulas. I used to do a condition and use the formula editor in the third drop down to go create my formula.
Yeah,
and
I use
validate
this one.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't validate if you type it in. You type it in here. You type it in here, you don't get any validation. So this, you get all the functionality of this dialog, and we're going to be making further improvements to this dialog in the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to that.
Wait, a couple of weeks. What are you talking about improving there, Jimmy?
Right now, so InfoPath has this thing where, like, what do we got? So when you got a field, it sort of shows it collapsed like this. It doesn't show you the whole thing, so it's sort of nice and compact. You can also build filters on things like filter. We call these technically these are called predicates, but you use this sort of build a filter on a field like that. That's another thing we're going to be adding. These kind of things. So that's going to be included here, in FormsDesigner.
So not predator or predicate, right?
Predicate. Did I say predator?
No, I just sorry.
Oh, nice.
Okay, this is awesome. Yeah, great job. Any questions? So we haven't seen any questions. You've got a question. This is this old technology. We're going to be switching to Teams probably for webinars in the near future, but you still have GoToWebinar questions here. So if you have any questions or comments, please add them. We still have more to go, and Jimmy's demo probably deserves a question or comment. So thank you if you can add that.
I'm just really excited about this change. I think this is major. It really improves. It really improves the functionality that we had in InfoPath while still giving you kind of at least a familiar enough UI that you don't feel adrift. And I think it's fantastic, Jimmy. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you.
Awesome comment too, Hillary. Thank you very much. So we just shipped 4.5 last week. It's actually out there. If you guys are using online version of Qdabra Forms, you can you have all the features. What we're doing today is 4.6. So we actually demoed the future for you. This is next week. Sorry about that. we have a question now. And thanks for asking that, Misty. And we'll come back to that in a second. But first, we have one more release here for, sorry, in the wrong direction here. We have one more release for this InfoPath parity end zone release for FormsDesigner, and that's July 25th. 4.7. And that's the final release. So by the end of July, we are hopeful that all of the input we've got from you, Misty, and others will be finished. And of course, we're going to go back to you in August. So we're going to ask you for feedback, and we're going to fix any bugs that you find. We obviously are doing a lot of bug testing here and fixing and whatever not. So that's not the end of FormsDesigner. We're going to continue pushing it forward, but we made this huge effort to try to get this done before the July 2026 date, the one year before the July 2026 date, which is Microsoft's end of support. So we're trying to give you at least a year to work on this. So I think we're pretty good actually at this point. And so if you've got questions, please let us know. I think Misty has a question. We'll go to that in a second. What's Hillary's? Hillary, what's Misty's question?
I think we just had comments with appreciation for Jimmy's changes.
Yeah, Jimmy, awesome job. So let's switch gears here. If you got no questions on the FormsDesigner changes, we're going to switch gears here to new stuff, and specifically, we're trying to reimagine the process of creating business processes. So, how do you automate your business process? So you may not even be thinking about this. You may not even be thinking, well, I have to create a form and add fields to it and logic and submit it to a backend database or SQL or SharePoint or whatever. You don't think about this maybe in this context of these 12 different things that you typically do. And so what we've done the last few months is we thought, well, a business process is these 12 different pieces. There's the view, there's the validation of the fields, there's data fields, there's the logic on submit, there's hide show logic. I mean, there's all kinds of things in the form. And then there's also the workflow, and there's the reporting, and there's, other things. This is an end-to-end process, right? So you've got lots of things going on. So I'd like to welcome Peter Miller, who's been a long-time customer of ours, and he's actually been working on a prototype with us. And Peter, thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Can you guys hear me okay?
You're totally audible. Go ahead.
All right, let me share my screen here and see if I can get back to that. There we go. It goes to the top. Okay, so as Patrick described the process gen, as we're sort of terming it right now, the points that Patrick brought up are, I think, important. This is something that we deal with on a pretty frequent basis, where we do have to come up with processes, and sometimes this process can be fairly lengthy, right? The idea here is to be able to improve this process, and by improve, it's more than just speed it up. It's to guide the user of this solution to a much more kind of cohesive process. It's based on standard approach to building processes, but what we see in practice is that the people that you're working with kind of get bogged down, and they know some stuff that they want to do, but they definitely have either experience with this or not. And if they don't have a lot of experience with it, it can be very slow and very chaotic in terms of the information that you're gathering in order to actually produce a process. And most of us think about processes involving some sort of a form nowadays, and utilizing the data and passing that through the organization to get the proper authorizations or something like that. And that's one of the examples that we put together today, something very simple, just a travel authorization process. So we're trying to position this idea so that instead of having to start from scratch, you're starting with more of a conversational a dialogue with an agent, and by describing that process, as you see here, the agent then walks you through all of the necessary steps. And we've already thought far enough ahead to dovetail with the things that you saw in terms of enhancements in FormsDesigner. If it's a simple form like we're going to demonstrate today, it's relatively straightforward, right? But when you start getting into additional capabilities like what Jimmy described today, or what Sweta had described in terms of adding existing capabilities that Qdabra already has, the whole idea here is to integrate this into the Qdabra ecosystem. So it's not a new product in the sense that it's completely new platform, but it is an intake, a way to get you into the ecosystem much faster with much less coding level or configuration level effort. So if you do have something complex like Sweta demonstrated the login, the idea here is that we would drive that through a special set of prompts that would help the user to articulate what it is that they're looking for, and then that process would be automated in terms of the way that it constructs the information, which can then be passed directly into the build portion of the form. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to demonstrate how this works.
Misty, I'm really interested in how you feel about this. Are you audible?
I think attendees are in listen only mode.
Yep.
That's fine. This buzz on.
Circle back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, she commented. She commented in the questions that she's watching.
Yeah, we can definitely make people in audible mode here. Feel free to do that, Hillary.
All right. Well, I'll continue for the sake of time, and then we can circle back at the end, because definitely, it's interesting to get folks' feedback in terms of where they would think about something like this. What you're seeing here is the interface, which is a pretty standard chat style interface. It starts off with, hey, I'm Process Gen, and how can I help you today? Very simple, right? And then what I did was I articulated my need for a prototype, right? I wanted just to do a prototype of a travel authorization process. So I described that at a high level, what I want, and then I click the send button, as you can see down here. And it takes that information and it starts the process. It starts to walk me through, and it gives me a little bit of feedback, and it says it's going to walk me through these 14 essential steps, right? So we've designed that into the whole process here. And then it comes back with some follow-up questions. And the idea is that you're being driven or guided through this process as if you were sitting down with, Jimmy or Hillary, or somebody who's well versed in process development, right? So I answer these questions, and I provide, as you can see here, a great deal of detail. I've tried to number these things to mimic what the questions were, and we just go back and forth. I'm describing, a dashboard table that I would like to have in the view, and that it seems to have recognized that, including the colors that I would like to have included. You can see that right there at the top. And it now understands, and what it's doing is it's iterating these and verifying what it understood you to describe. And it captured the details there about the colors, and then it has more questions. So the idea here is it's just building on to its understanding of what you want this form to do. And I gave it some fairly specific information about what I wanted the the field choices to be, which was all relatively straightforward, but a lot easier for you to just kind of articulate this verbally or in text at least. Maybe the next version will have a verbal command. And just fill in the blanks. And as you see, I'm giving it information, it's iterating and giving me more feedback, you know, for the financial information in the repeating table. So I told it earlier on that I wanted to have a repeating table inside of the form. And part of that was to just sort of test the theory of whether it could do it and introduce that level of complexity. So what I did here was I said, you know, for the repeating table, use the columns, you know, date field first, followed by airfare, ground transportation, et cetera. And you'll see that when we actually go over to the form that it generated. And then I give it some more detail here about what I want those, oh, sorry, this is its response. And then it goes back and asks me, what should I do about invalid data? So it's really driving you through, you know, what the, you know, a developer level interface or interaction would be, right? So that it will get the proper information to build a, in this case, I've asked it to do a prototype, but the whole idea here is that you can give it the level of detail that you want. It'll continue to ask you questions as I got closer and closer to the end, just for the sake of expediency, I started to tell it, hey, this is just a prototype, so let's, you know, let's curtail any interface discussion. And I told it here that I didn't need to have a certain status, and so you can see we go back and forth, and it gives me feedback, and then asks me carry on questions. And at that point, what it's going to do is it's actually going to generate that specification, which we then use to build out the form. And if I use that form in a HTML format, which is what this is, the eventual goal is that this would generate
so Pete, you just generated this from the previous prompts?
From the previous prompts that you saw, it produces a specification, and then that specification gets processed and it ends up working like this, right? So you can see this is that dashboard that I asked for with the status.
So yeah, how did you get the colors to show up? It's amazing.
You probably saw those back in here. I told it specifically what colors I was looking for way back at the top here. I wanted it to, you know, to match the theme of our of our presentation. So I used the typical expense report red and things that Qdabra would normally use in terms of the background colors and stuff. And then all the conditional logic. You know, here's the pick list that I told it to put in there. You can see it has these as required fields, which I told it it had to have. It does have conditional logic as well. So if I pick today, let's see, today's the 3rd, and then I pick another day, which is in the past. Now it won't process that when I go ahead and click submit. It'll just tell me with an error message. These are all the conditions that I set, and then you can see I did do an expense like, you know, what would you call it, condition here.
So basically, you're showing a travel form, that travel authorization request form, that actually has repeating sections.
Correct. Yeah. If I wanted to add a row, I can just do that. I can remove the rows. Yeah. And it does give me this title. Sorry, this total here. So if I were to finish this form and click submit, which right now it'll fail because of the lack of, you know, please fill in, it's gone right to the top, please fill in the requester name, right? So, oops, wrong keyboard. And then it'll tell me whatever else is not filled in. Yeah, next is destination city. I love my customers in Rome. and then there has to be a after this is the conditional logic that I said, oh, you can't have an end date after the start date. So it's really, you know, all that conditional logic is in there. Now, I didn't go crazy, but I was really interested in what Jimmy was talking about before, you know, some of that really complex logic. Obviously, you would do as much as you can here. And then if you do have that really complex logic, then you can now utilize this form in the regular in the regular Qdabra ecosystem, right? So you would be able to now get into this form in FormsDesigner. If you had really complex logic that you needed to work out, you would be able to do that there. And so the whole idea is that you're getting to a workable product, as you can see here, much faster. This this dialogue here didn't take me very long. You can see I've got some sort of past experience with these sorts of things, so I was able to tell it pretty much what I wanted. I had thought through the process, and a lot of people are coming from some sort of paper base or some sort of previous form. If you have previous forms and now you want to utilize those in a way that's going to fit easily into the Qdabra ecosystem, then the idea is this helps you get there much faster, and you can start getting feedback from your users, you know, with regards to, hey, what do you think about our form here? This is what it does. When I put all this information in and I finally submit it, it says, okay, it's been submitted, and then we can go back to the dashboard.
So, I mean, Pete, this is amazing. So you're showing this prototype of how to use AI, in this case, use Claude Code, right?
It did use Claude Code, yes, that is correct, to generate this, right.
You've been with us, you know, for so long, and so, I mean, you know, to step back.
I learned so much from you guys, you know.
Same here. So stepping back for a second here, I mean, you know, thinking about the last 2 years of AI improvements here, what would you tell the rest of the people on this call in terms of what's interesting about what we've been doing here with AI?
I think, you know, we are interested in making sure that we are getting the most out of the AI. So when we initially started talking about things like QDoc chat, the idea was, how can we make use of this new technology in a way that dovetails with the needs of business, right? This is very practical use of your data that you have on hand already. And where we saw that evolving from, hey, we've got all these corpus of documents that we can make use of quickly and easily, that then transitioned into, hey, maybe we can get people to put more accurate content into the forms, and that's where QForm chat really came from. And those two things dovetail really nicely into the existing, you know, Qdabra ecosystem. So the next step was to how can we now make this overall process more efficient, and for companies that have to be efficient and are competitive, this is exactly what you need to do, is you know, be moving forward with the AI technology, because everybody is going to catch on eventually. And we're just, I think, way ahead of the curve here in terms of the capabilities that we're starting to demonstrate.
Why do you think we're way ahead of the curve?
I think because I'm not seeing a lot of other companies do this. The only ones who I do see doing it are sort of strictly AI companies, but the current business model that I see, especially in the regulated environment, is very slow and cautious in terms of their implementation and adoption of this. And so we've been trying to encourage those industry folks who are reasonably, you know, being cautious, because nobody wants to go kind of out on a limb there, but there plenty of things that you can do in the normal in the normal part of your business model that may not be carefully regulated or scrutinized, and still get a lot of the productivity out of the AI capabilities that exist now.
Well, thanks for this incredible loyalty, I guess, interest over the years, and the fact that you're not actually an employee of Qdabra, you don't work here, right? But you don't.
I can
you're paying
attest.
us, actually. You pay us as a customer much more than we haven't paid you anything. So
that is true.
Really just amazed that you're able to do this demo today, and really excited about the future of this. We're going to bring this in-house. We're going to help customers automate the creation of business processes. So the way I think of this is it's a starter form. So you want to create a starter form. You want to talk to it. You want to kind of imagine what it includes, and have a very fast, easy to understand interaction with this AI. And so Pete's demoed this today with the travel request form. He had to obviously, kind of create. He didn't actually add text dynamically because there's so much text to write. But I hope you got the idea. What he did. Yeah. So we're committed to this process gen automation. If you got questions, please ask them. We're over.
Kathy,
this is a long webinar, Jimmy.
Kathy had a question a while back. She said, what is the process of upgrading to the updated tools we are seeing here?
I responded to her twice, actually. She asked that question twice. So I thought I responded to this, but if
I
not,
tried
Kathy,
to respond too, but I can't. I don't have a way of seeing whether the response.
Yeah, we actually all responded, but it's always good to restate it so that people who are watching and don't see the questions know. And that is, if you're using Forms Viewer Online, which Kathy is, you're just going to automatically get these updates when we release them. If you're using Forms Viewer on premises, we are always happy to help you upgrade. So just reach out to support@qdabra.com and we will schedule an upgrade for you.
Thanks, Hillary. Any other questions for us today? We've gone very long today. This is quite a long webinar, but we had a lot to show you, and hope you're excited about what we're going to do here. We've released FormsDesigner 4.5, and we're 4.6 is next week. The process gen stuff, probably September timeframe. Obviously, we're looking for beta, testers. So if you're interested in this, please let us know. We have other AI tools we've built over the last 2.5, 3 years. Qform Chat, Qdoc Chat, and so please do reach out if you've got questions. We have a question. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. You're saying thank you. Okay, I'm glad you got the content here, the communication. Any other questions for us before we shut this down for today? I want to thank everyone for being here. And more importantly, I want to thank Pete and Hillary and Jimmy and Samia and Sweta for all the wonderful efforts that they put into this webinar. We look forward to demoing again in 2 weeks. We're on a new cycle. We're demoing every 2 weeks to you, and we're going to keep that cycle for the rest of the year. I hope. Have a great day.
Thanks for attending, everyone. It was so good to see all of you.
Everyone.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks.
Bye-bye.